Hi there folks, today I'm going to talk about yet another great example of SNP, this time a SNP MP, and their amazing ability to blame almost everything in the world on either the British government or something that appears to be British. But before I do that, let's ask just two quick things. First, if you're enjoying the videos, please click the thumbs up button. It does great things for the channel. And secondly, in my last video, this piece of soft furnishing actually upset quite a lot of people. It's amazing, isn't it? How people that live in a country can actually be upset by that country's emblem. But for those who I did upset, it's here to stay. So, on to today's topic. Hannah Bardell, who is the SNP MP for Livingstone, recently put out a video on social media, and it was subsequently followed up by The National, which is the nationalist independent movement's newspaper up here, for those of you who are not aware of it. And the story was about this family who were trying to get out of Gaza, a Scottish family. Her constituents, sorry, I don't know their nationality, all I do know that's factual is they are her constituents, or at least one member of the family are her constituent, because she mentions this one constituent and how she's trying to get a number of her family out of Gaza. So I'm a bit unsure how the rest of the family are described. If they're Scottish or from Livingstone or whatever, I'm unsure at this point. However, this family were helped somewhat by Hannah. Hannah is a spokesperson for external affairs like this in Westminster for the Scottish National Party, and been a constituent for one of the members, at least one of the members of the family. She seems a bit perturbed that she's actually having to deal with these people's problems and suggests that it's other people's problems, but it's her constituency and she's the spokesperson for the SNP for this sort of thing. But the big headline in this story is British Airways, not Caledonia, British Airways. I've got the audacity to charge £5,000 for this family's safe return. Now, the family have since come out through the Rafah crossing and are in Egypt, and they've been charged £5,000 by British Airways to fly from Egypt back to the United Kingdom. And I must admit, when I seen the figures involved, I thought that's a bit excessive. However, on further reading, the family size is 13 members, which turns out £300 and something per person to come back from Egypt. It's not as hellish as one might imagine. And the National go to describe the British Airways as in some sort of demonic way profiting from other people's misery. I'm quite unsure how charging £300 odds to come back from Egypt is trying to profit from anyone's misery. And another thing that Ms Bardell is unhappy about is the fact that this family were charged by the Egyptian government for a temporary visa once arriving on their soil through the crossing between Gaza and Egypt. Now, I've been in Egypt before, and it is quite some time ago, and I've been to Turkey and other countries in the region, and quite a lot of them charge for visas. In fact, almost all of them. I go to America often, and they charge me for an ESTA. It's normal practice. But Hannah, Ms Bardell, finds this very unfair and tried to tie that in with a moan about the British government, and I'm quite unsure how any other government other than the Egyptian government can be responsible for the visas that they charge to enter their country. It's fascinating. She then goes on to have a tirade about the British government and how it's ridiculous that the British government aren't chartering planes for the people coming out of Gaza. Now, this is a subject that I do have quite a bit of experience with, because I have chartered planes in the past to take children to Portugal for the day. And I'm in the middle of planning a trip to Spain for hopefully 120 to 140 kids plus adults. And the reason that we pick a plane at 189 passengers is it's the normal size of an aeroplane that you charter. And this Ms Bardell, Hannah, representative of Livingstone, is quite perturbed that the British government aren't chartering aeroplanes, when apparently the amount of people currently having come out, and trying to get out of the area totals 150. 150 wouldn't all be coming out in one day. So I'm quite unsure why the British government would find it beneficial financially to charter an aeroplane for 10, 20, 30 people. That's private jets. But then you are a SNP MP, so possibly these sort of things are what you would think are acceptable. Another thing that I don't want to get into too much detail because it is a bit of a sticky subject. But for a very long time now, the British Foreign Office have been advising British citizens not to travel to Gaza for their own safety. Not just since the horrific invasion of Israel on the 7th of October, but for a long time prior to that. And I'm unsure where the responsibility to take any citizens out of any of the lots and lots of areas that the British Foreign Office advise us as citizens not to travel to. I'm unsure where the responsibility passes back to the government when things go wrong in areas that are deemed unsafe to travel. But Hannah Bardell does. She believes that the British government are totally. She then throws up an example of when America were bringing their citizens out of Israel, that they chartered planes. And I can imagine that that would be thousands of people. And it would take more than one flight to get all the citizens from America that were in Israel at the time of the horrific invasion on the 7th of October. So to use that as an example of America being good, which is very unusual for an SNP MP to hold America up in a shining light, but she did in this case. But when you compare thousands of people coming out in a short space of time, possibly in a matter of days, as opposed to, in your number, 150, up to 150 people over the course of possibly weeks, you can understand why charter planes might have been a decent proposal when you're taking thousands of American citizens out of Israel. But don't let that stop you, Ms Bardell, from just doing what SNP always do and have the British government to blame for everything in the world. All the world's ills, blame them on the British government. And then bring in British Airways, who are seen by many as a national carrier. They obviously they show an emblem quite similar to this emblem that upsets people. British Airways quite commonly put that in the tailplane. So they're seen as a iconic British brand, and I should not be surprised that you and your type would wish to try and blacken their name along with the British government at every opportunity. So your £5,000 headline, which did actually get my attention, I thought that was quite naughty, is actually for 13 people. And the £35 that they get charged for a visa is set by the Egyptian government. And I know I'm going to pass this on to deaf ears, but I would really wish the SNP would stop, even just for a week, try to stop blaming everybody else for their ills. However, one thing I will commend you on, Ms Bardell, is at least you've kept this family out of the paper. Because we've been hearing tales recently about how families coming back from Gaza should have their privacy. And that privacy lasts up until about 2 hours after their family members get a bit of heat doing their jobs as the First Minister, and suddenly these families that we've all to provide privacy to are flung in front of the nation's cameras. But I'll probably cover that in a separate issue. So guys, thanks very much for listening to this 10-minute tirade. If this offends you, probably best not tuning in again. And if you've enjoyed the video, click the thumbs up. And if you really want to see more of these videos, click the subscribe button, and we'll see you all again soon. Bye now.